Hi, this is Shahid again from Cisco Systems. We are in part 2 of Cisco Cloud Center 4.5 or CliQr session. This part I'm going to cover system requirement plus a bit more maybe depending on the time. I try to keep each session 30 minutes to 40 minutes so that I have your concentration. In the last sessions, those who have seen, or you can go back and see on the we covered what is Cloud Center and kind of architectural overview, and a demo of a demo application is OpenCard. We deployed into the VMware cloud, and then we applied the same application profile into the AWS cloud. Now, this session I'm going to cover the system requirement. What is requirement? When I say system requirement, what is the hardware requirement? What is the port requirement? What is the environment you need to prepare for it, and you need to be mindful that what should be in place if this has to work. And I'll try to deploy the different components of the CCC, again depending on the time, otherwise we'll cover in the next session, and then rest of the things are there for subsequent sessions. So these are the minimum requirement for the system. For CCM, CCO, depending on how many VMs. Also, this is for AMQP and other. Again, these things are available on the Cisco website, also CliQr website. I'll probably I'll show you that. Okay. So you can see like docs.cliqr.com. It has all those information here. You probably should check the version you're deploying, that what are the requirements, and also it has OVA templates, of course. You could do the same thing also if you search the Cisco Cloud Center. So docs.cloudcenter.cisco.com, the same website. So this is probably a good idea to go there and check what is the kind of requirement for their version, and then the network requirements. What are the ports available, need to open, especially if you're talking about deploying into the your public cloud, and also if there's a firewall inside your data center, you probably need to make sure that those ports are open. So I will cover this in my slides. And also there are a few IP addresses here. So just keep in mind that you are deploying this your Cloud Center inside the private cloud and outside the private cloud into your public cloud like your Amazon and Azure. So there would be requirement of the public IP. So CCM probably would be sitting inside the data center. You could have two interfaces, one for the private, one for the public. But in our case, it is just your one interface that's netted out. And also CCO, say it's in the AWS, and they need to talk to the CCM back in the data center. So you'll have to have a public IP so that it can talk to AMQP and also Health Monitor. Health Monitor is inside the data center. So the ports required, 8443 probably is one of the most important ports. You'll see that CCO, CCM,
it's 2 o'clock.
They talk to each other, and also the HMON, they talk on that 8443. Guacamole, also remote access. Then ingress is 443 for your browser access, and 22 pretty much you would see that most of them open for troubleshooting purpose mainly. So you can SSH into the box and do the troubleshooting. Yep, same thing here, 8443. And if you look at this one, this is probably something to keep in mind, and it is probably more important because you are putting your CCO and AMQP inside the data, your AWS and Azure or Google Cloud. So you have to make security groups if you know that that allows which ports you can come in. By default, AWS allows all outbound ports open, but Azure doesn't do that. So you'll have to also configure the outbound and inbound ports for the Azure. So and this is the open. just 7788. If you split the Guacamole and your AMQP, then you'll have to keep this port open for Guacamole. And then for troubleshooting 15672, that's a port. I'll show that this is probably very useful, especially during the deployment, that is if everything is working okay or not. And the HMON is 8443. Now, deploying the Cloud Center, how do you do that? So there are two options. Like most of the software these days, like you have an option to deploy through the OVA, and Cisco provides for the OVA for VMware, then the appliance for OpenStack, and AMI image for AWS. Rest of them, you have to install the operating system, like CentOS, like your Azure CentOS 6 or 7 or RHEL 6 or 7. Then there's a bundle you can install and make it as your CCM or CCO. Once you deploy that, say you deploy the OVA, and then one single CCM can manage multiple CCO, as you have seen in earlier slides. Then you install the CCO, that's for each cloud, and also each region. So if you have, say, West region and East region, you'll have to have two separate CCO. These are closed. So, and up to 10,000 VM, you can manage by one CCO. Then you also install the Guacamole and then AMQP server. I kind of covered this one before, bundle, package, and artifact repo, that what it does and why you need that. So you could have a local bundle and package store, or you could use CliQr provider, which is cdn.cliqr.com and repo.cliqr.com. And artifact repo is for your customer internal binaries and scripts. And lastly, you could have your monitor server inside the data center. So if you go to the support.cisco.com, you would see these are the packages you can download. Search for Cisco Cloud Center, and then you'll find 4.5.5 version. The top one is a worker VM. So as I mentioned before, that each VM that I've deployed has an agent, CliQr agent installed that. So Cisco provides those as a OVA template for a few operating systems. You could just download and kind of they are inside your Cloud Center, and you can start deploying them. Or customer can has their customized image, and you could install that agents and you could make it work. Those scripts are also available from this here. So, and again, you can see CCM, CCO, monitor, and also Rabbit or AMQP. These are all having OVA. You can just download it and deploy that for VMware. For OpenStack, same thing. You could do that. And also there is a bundle artifact. You can put it into your local bundle store. Now, how do you start deploying that? Like from the OVA. First, I'll cover the OVA for bare metal, not bare metal, like for a scratch VM for CentOS or your RHEL. You just need to do few extra additional steps before you start doing this one. So you deploy the OVS, that you install the DB on CCM. CCM has two options for DB, one for MySQL and there is MariaDB. So you install the DB, there is a wizard, you just run through that and it's done for you. And then you configure each one of them, like you kind of give the information about each other during that time. Again, we'll go over this, so we'll see how it is done. Then this is talking about the local bundles repo, means this is optional again. You could use the cdn.cliqr.com, but if you want your own one, you could deploy a VM from the base operating system, and that install that bundle artifact.zip, which you downloaded from Cisco website. And then worker VM, you could deploy the VM that I shown in the support.cisco.com, or custom image. You could install the management agent also on top of that. This is a card. I'll keep this one handy. As we go, we will try to update these IP address and others. I have the IP addresses for the one inside the VMware environment. So if you can see, that starts with CCM is 21, 22, 23. Pretty straightforward. Health monitor 24, and then 26. Now CCM will be inside the data center, but this guy from CCO, which will have a public IP, we'll try to talk to him, right? So this is the IP we'll use, and this is kind of netted back to this IP address on 8443, and whatever the ports required for the CCM. And AWS is, if you know about AWS, like there is a public and the private IP inside the AWS. So AWS could, this CCO AMQP, they can talk to each other through the private IP, but when they talk to the your CCM, they have to talk to the public IP. So just keep in mind, and probably having a card can be handy. And now I'm coming to this stage where you deploy from scratch, like Azure. There is no your appliances or image created for Azure, so or any other private cloud or public cloud. So you can download those bin and ZAR files from the that support.cisco.com, and they have once you extract them, you'll see a few things. One is the core._installer.bin. That's applicable for all of them, and there is a ZAR file for each one of them: CCM, monitor, CCO, and that works in conjunction with the response file. So response file is an XML file where you have the information about other components that it needs to talk to. So again, we'll go through this and we'll see how this works. Worker installer.bin is for a image which is a kind of customer image you'd like to convert into a worker image on the Cloud Center. You need to install that. And for the Windows, that's for your Linux-based operating system, and the other one is for the Windows CliQr.installer. So you can download that your bundle installer-artifact.zip from the Cisco website. Base image on top of the OVA template before you means the stages we do after the OVA template. We have to run that installer.bin and also the, as I said, like ZAR file with the response files. And then the next steps are same, exactly same that thing we covered before. Okay, maybe now I can go back and start deploying. I have a vCenter here. Okay, here it is. So I have all the OVS downloaded into this jump box. So I'm going to deploy. In this version, the IP addresses you need to configure manually. I'm sure as the feature releases, they will make it more easier. So let me just find out the CCM. You can see CCM, CCO, monitor, rabbit, and the worker. So I will deploy all of them. Just for the demo, I'll just go through the CCM deployment, and I'll deploy all of them, come back, and then we start configuring from there. So those are from the VMware. That's pretty straightforward. For lab, I would keep thin provisioning, and everything is going through VLAN 18 here. Okay, I will also initiate the deployment rest of these OVS and come back. I'll kind of when I need to configure the IP address of this CCM, and then I'll go from there. Let's pause that for now, and then we'll start again once this is completed. Hey, I'm back after deploying the OVA of CCM, CCO, AMQP, and HMON. Now we'll have to do the initial config. And these are the initial configuration we'll need to go through. It's standard for any server. This is a Linux-based operating system. So this is the CCM root, and the default password is welcome to CliQr, CliQr. Probably advised to change that. Now for the CCM, first thing we need to set up the IP address. So if you remember that lab card, its IP address is 172.17.18.21. Oops. And the DNS. I hope this will be into the wizard pretty soon. Oops, sorry. Okay, the network is up, so I will SSH and configure a few things. There is no DNS setup for the lab, so I'll have to configure the host name and host files, and then the host names. And also we probably should change, but for our lab we'll not change the password for the root, and then reboot that. So it's better that what I have done, I kind of made a script for all those configuration, so I don't have to type every time. So that's 17.21. Okay, just saying that it's a CCM server, so you need to have the DB server, and then you can run the configuration wizard. So that'll do later. Before that, let's just this is for the lab only. I don't think so you'll have to do it in the production. You'll have your DNS server. This is just the all the names and IP addresses. And the host name. So I'm going to do that for all CCO, CCM, AMQP, and monitor, and then restart the recording. Okay, the servers are back. So this is CCM. You can see demo .ccm. This is demo.cco. This is AMQP, and this is the monitor. So I've done the same thing for all the host files. Just they can talk to each other, and also change the host names. So let's go over what to do in the CCM configuration. So again, first the scripts are provided. Just install the DB. Then they configure the CCM part, which is again the wizard, and these are the information we need to provide. So the server info, those are self-explanatory. The only thing, the outface DNS, you could point to external interface, where the users can come in, and the other one you could use for the infrastructure, or there could be a load balancer. It's kind of like any other VM. Or if the naming may be a bit confusing, the out phase. So if there is no second interface, so you just keep it clear, or put the same DNS name of that CCM. ESB is for government, network default, and this kind of popular is the host files, and the exit and restart. So let's go and do that. So wizard pops up, and in this case, we're going to do MySQL DB. There's another option for MariaDB, as I mentioned before. So it's installing your MySQL database. So this is done. It's going to restart the server. Next, I would be running that wizard for the configuration of the CCM itself, and each kind of component, CCM, CCO, has their own wizard. Okay, we are not going to configure the email. You could use this for notification purpose. So you could give them the IP addresses and your mail server address. Okay, so this is talking about CCM itself. In our case, there's no public DNS here. So this is important because say you have the public DNS name ccm.dearcompany.com, which is a publicly available DNS address. You would put this one here. The reason is this configuration file once talk to the CCO. This will be populated in the CCO that, okay, the IP address of the CCM is this, but we don't have this public available your DNS name. We'll put the private one, and we'll have to edit the file in the CCO once in the AWS. So this is very important to have the public DNS name here. But in this case, we'll just put your so that's the ccm.mylab.pvt. Okay. Now this is talking about the monitor one. Hazelcast, if you have a HA situation, then you provide that. Otherwise, so remain as it is. And this is I was talking about, if you have a second interface, then you can put it here. But as this is one interface, we'll put the same one here. One thing you will see, we're not telling about CCO here. There's no configuration, you do the CCO. CCO is once you add that CCM into the cloud, at that time you do the CCO address. Network, you don't have to do this, is the same thing, the host file. Okay. application logo, that's all. So this is what we are configuring. So it's going to restart the server. So next is CCO. As a matter of fact, there's nothing much different here. We do the same thing. For CCO is run the script, and it's going to ask for all this information, bundle store, because it needs to talk to the bundle store, to pull the, binaries and script. As I mentioned before, there is two options. One is the private and the public. So for now, I'll keep it your public, which is cdn.cliqr.com, but I will later change it to the private one. I'll show how to do that. And these are the files actually. That's kind of I mentioned about that once you add this CCO into the cloud, there's a file generated as gateway.properties. We'll use this for troubleshooting later. And AMQP server, you need to do the IP address and Guacamole server. In our case, this is same. Agent bundle, okay. This is what I was talking about. Like this is cdn.cliqr.com release 5, and then all the bundles here. And you will see there is one called repo, that's for custom repo URL. These are provided by your CliQr. You could have the same thing inside your data center in a different VM.
It's 3 o'clock.
Okay, AMQP server. That's 5671 if you remember the port. Network is same. Okay, this is the Guacamole, the same one. Seven 778 Okay, next is AMQP. And again, this is the wizard. There's two components here. One is the Guacamole, and there's the Rabbit config. So again, I mentioned before that you could have a separate server. For this case, I would do the same. So this is a bit different than other two. So we run the script, and it provides the CCM and CCO information here, restart the server. Then there is a way to test that if it is configured correctly. So this will create these users that will act as a, go to the agent and use these accounts. If it is not there, then we got to delete this file, which is most of them are your Osmosis etc folder, and then you can run the RabbitMQ that will configure the Rabbit, and then run the command again. There is a way to test if your Guacamole and is your AMQP and your CCO is talking to each other or not. So the port I was talking about, I think in the port section, that's 15672. This is a very useful test to make sure that they are talking to each other and connected. If you deploy your CCO and AMQP in the cloud, it's very difficult to know that there's kind of connectivity between them and they are configured correctly. So let's go and do that. CCM, CCO. Next is and just to show that this has not created those, we will configure probably rabbit MQCTL list users. So it's not created the CliQr user. So let's okay. Yeah, that's what before you do that, you'll have to kind of delete this file here. Sorry. Okay, now configuring the rabbit. Okay, it's done. Okay. So both Guacamole and RabbitMQ is ready now. Now we'll have to test it if they're talking to each other. Now, how do you do that? Like so. That's the RabbitMQ IP. Sorry, that's the AMQP IP address. So you can see. So they are not connected. So when the configuration is done by the AMQP server, CCO and CCM, we should reboot the server. So in this case, I rebooted the CCO. Welcome to CliQr. And we can see, yeah, it is connected. So after the installation is done, when you reboot, the Tomcat server restarts and kind of check the connectivity with the AMQP server and talks to each other. So there is another tool we can use to see the connectivity between the CCM and CCO. So that's, you need to install that. This is just to check that it is talking to the CCO on port 8443. Let me pause and come back once. So we're in the CCO. Let's run the netcat tool. 172. Or we can just write your demo CCM 8443 connected. So if we run the same command on the CCM, we should see the same result on that. Okay, I think we are good to go. We have rebooted and we have seen that they're connected to each other. So now next would be we would prepare the manager so that we can add the cloud. So there are steps we need to follow. So preparing the CCM for the first time. So we log into the CCM. So to prepare the CCM manager for the first time, we need to understand two things. One is the plan, other is the contract. So a plan is an agreement determined by the admin or the company and assigned to the user, which pretty much determines the capacity or allowed usage, how much the user can use. And the other one is contract. It's like enforces the user to accept a terms and conditions agreement. Once we do that, then we kind of bind these two with the user. So if we log in, the default username this admin at clickertech.com, and the password is clicker. So this is the interface I think we had shown in the demo. So this is the dashboard. Once we start configuring, these things will start populating. These are the applications. Like once we configure your application profiles from template, they should be here, and we can deploy from here. Repository is the artifact repo. Customer, your binaries and scripts, we can put it somewhere, and we can pull from here. Marketplace, we can publish those to the private and public. And then deployment is, this is probably one of the important places where we model the application, create the environment. Sorry, we create the environment here, and we deploy there. Like once we start deploying, we'll see that this will start populating. And then we can also create projects. Benchmarks, you can kind of performance benchmark based on the cost within different clouds. We won't go into that today. And then schedule policies. Different policies like if it is like something goes 80% below, then email. There are different other policies we can create. Admin. So first is the before we do anything, we have to make a usage plan. I created one already. So this is the root plan. So the way you do that, just pretty straightforward. And for this demo, we create an unlimited subscription. Put a number based on the what's the requirement from the company, and then your contract, like I just write down the short what to be displayed. So this is the terms and condition you need to agree. So once first time the user log in, this will pop up, and they have to agree to the terms and conditions before proceeding. Okay, let's enable this. Now if you go to the user, we should be able to map to that. I think they are already mapped. Manage plan. So there's the root plan, and there's the contract. So save it. So at this stage, we are good to go. Means we can start adding the clouds at the next stage. So it kind of pop up with the terms and condition, and then we agree and continue. So next is your adding cloud VMware. So that will be the next one. So I'll stop today for here. Thanks for watching, and send me questions or post the comments, and I'll get back to you on the next session. Thank you for watching.